Welcome to our channel Crime Loom, the place where true crime stories come alive. Robert Napper was born in 1965 in London, England. From the very beginning, it was clear to some people around him that Robert was different. As a child, he was quiet and withdrawn, often preferring to spend time alone rather than with other children. He struggled to make friends or form normal relationships. Family members noticed that his behavior was unusual, but they did not fully understand what it meant. Small incidents, such as his fascination with knives or violent play, were dismissed as childhood curiosity, but in reality, they were early warning signs of something much darker. Growing up, Robert had difficulty at school. Teachers found him distant and sometimes unpredictable. He had trouble focusing and was often lost in his own world, thinking about things that were unusual for a child his age. He was sometimes aggressive toward other children, though it was never extreme enough to draw serious attention. At home, he remained isolated. His parents were aware that he had problems, but did not have the knowledge or resources to address his mental health. As he entered his teenage years, his violent fantasies and disturbing thoughts became more frequent and intense. These fantasies were private, but they reflected a mind that was struggling with deep psychological issues. By the time he became an adult, Robert Napper's life was chaotic. He struggled to hold jobs and had little interest in conventional life. He became obsessed with thoughts of domination and control, and these obsessions started to influence his behavior. His isolation deepened, and he began to plan ways to act out his violent fantasies. In the early 1990s, he was living in London, blending into the city's population. To the outside world, he appeared unremarkable. Yet behind closed doors, his mind was consumed by dark and dangerous urges. In November 1992, London would experience a crime that shocked the nation. Rachel Nickell, a 23-year-old young mother, was walking on Wimbledon Common with her 2-year-old son. It was a calm, sunny day, and the common was filled with families enjoying the outdoors. Suddenly, in a terrifying attack that would horrify the country, Rachel was stabbed repeatedly more than 40 times in a brutal and frenzied assault. Her young son was left alive, standing in shock beside her body. The violence of the crime was extreme, leaving the community in fear and disbelief. Wimbledon Common, a place that had always felt safe for families, became a symbol of danger. The police were under intense pressure to catch the killer. Londoners, especially women, became fearful, afraid to walk alone or let their children play in public spaces. The investigation into Rachel Nickell's murder became one of the most high-profile and controversial in British history. Police, under pressure to deliver results, focused their attention on a man named Colin Stagg. He had no physical connection to the crime, but investigators believed his behavior and personality made him a likely suspect. To build a case, the police launched an undercover operation, involving a female officer pretending to be romantically interested in Stagg, attempting to elicit a confession. This operation would later collapse in court. Colin Stagg was completely cleared, revealing the flaws in the investigation. Meanwhile, the real killer remained free, blending into society without anyone suspecting him. During this time, Robert Napper's violent urges continued. He was still living unnoticed in London, hiding his dangerous mind behind a normal exterior. Nearly 1 year later, in November 1993, another horrifying crime occurred. Samantha Bisset, a young mother, and her 4-year-old daughter, Jazmine, were found brutally murdered in their home. The crime scene was disturbing, showing extreme violence. Samantha had been stabbed multiple times, and her daughter had also been killed. Investigators were shocked by the brutality, as it was clear that the killer had no fear and no compassion. The murder sent shockwaves through London once again. Police realized they were dealing with a highly dangerous individual who was capable of extreme acts of violence. The double murder of Samantha and Jazmine forced police to rethink the investigation into violent crimes in London. Forensic science became a crucial tool, and DNA evidence was collected from the scene. Unlike in Rachel Nickell's case, this evidence would later play a key role in identifying the killer. Despite the new evidence, years passed, and the killer remained unknown. The city lived in fear, and families remained vigilant, knowing that a dangerous predator was still at large. In 2000, Robert Napper was finally arrested after attacking a woman in her home. This time, the intervention was swift, and he was prevented from killing again. DNA samples were taken from Napper and matched to the crime scene of Samantha Bisset and her daughter Jazmine. The truth about the man behind these horrifying crimes finally came out. Subsequent investigation revealed that Napper had also been responsible for the murder of Rachel Nickell. DNA evidence confirmed his involvement, clearing Colin Stagg completely and exposing one of the biggest investigative failures in the history of British policing. During his trial, the details of Napper's mental state were revealed in disturbing detail. Psychiatrists diagnosed him with paranoid schizophrenia. He described violent fantasies and compulsions that he had struggled with for many years. He admitted to planning attacks and feeling driven by urges he could not control. The court heard how he had meticulously considered his crimes, showing both planning and unpredictability, a combination that made him extremely dangerous. In 2000, Robert Napper pleaded guilty to the manslaughter of Samantha Bisset and her daughter Jazmine due to diminished responsibility. He was sentenced to life imprisonment and ordered to be detained in a high-security psychiatric hospital. Authorities made it clear that he posed a continued risk to society and that he would never be allowed to live freely again. Years later, in 2008, Napper also pleaded guilty to the manslaughter of Rachel Nickell. The court imposed a whole life order, ensuring he would never be released. The decision reflected the severity of his crimes and the danger he posed. The case of Robert Napper left a deep impact on Britain. It exposed failures in policing, highlighting the dangers of investigative bias and the consequences of focusing on the wrong suspect. It also underscored the importance of addressing mental health issues, particularly in individuals showing violent tendencies. The families of the victims suffered tremendously, as justice was delayed and the killer remained free for years. While they eventually saw the truth, the scars of loss and fear could never fully heal. Psychologists and criminologists studied Napper's case extensively. They noted how early warning signs, if recognized and addressed, might have prevented the escalation of violence. They emphasized that mental illness, when combined with violent tendencies, can create individuals capable of extreme acts of aggression. Napper's crimes became a case study in understanding the complex interaction between mental health, environment, and criminal behavior. Robert Napper remains imprisoned, remembered as one of Britain's most dangerous killers. His crimes are a chilling reminder that evil can hide in plain sight, and that mistakes in justice can have devastating consequences. The nation continues to reflect on his actions, both as a cautionary tale for law enforcement and as a tragic story of lives lost. The brutality of his crimes and the long path to his capture serve as a haunting legacy, illustrating how darkness can lurk behind ordinary appearances, waiting for the right moment to emerge. The story of Robert Napper also emphasizes the role of forensic science in solving crimes. DNA evidence, which had been unavailable during the initial investigation into Rachel Nickell, ultimately became the key to solving both murders. Modern policing now relies heavily on such scientific methods to identify perpetrators and prevent further attacks. The Napper case has influenced police procedures, highlighting the importance of evidence, investigation, and careful attention to suspects rather than assumptions based on personality or behavior. Victims' families have since become advocates for justice reform, speaking publicly about the need for proper mental health intervention and the consequences of investigative errors. Rachel Nickell's murder, in particular, led to changes in police procedures for high-profile cases, ensuring that innocent individuals are not unfairly targeted. The Bisset murders reinforced the critical role of DNA and forensic technology in modern investigations, preventing further miscarriages of justice. Robert Napper's case also serves as a reminder of the dangers posed by individuals with untreated mental illness and violent tendencies. Paranoid schizophrenia, in Napper's situation, distorted his perception of reality and drove him to commit acts that were horrific and senseless. While mental illness explains aspects of his behavior, it does not excuse the extreme violence he carried out. Society has learned that vigilance, mental health support, and careful law enforcement are essential to preventing such tragedies, even decades after the crimes. Robert Napper's name is remembered in the annals of British criminal history. His actions continue to fascinate criminologists, psychologists, and true crime enthusiasts. The story is told repeatedly, not to sensationalize the tragedy, but to learn lessons about human behavior, investigative errors, and the devastating impact of violent crime. Napper's life, crimes, and eventual capture remain a stark illustration of how darkness can coexist with ordinary life, and how society must remain vigilant to prevent such horrors.
Subscribe to Crime Loom and join us as we unravel